As a development guy, I mean, this is one of the most exciting things I think the company has done in many, many years. And I think that if you look at Starwood, one of the things that distinguishes us from an awful lot of the other companies is we have such a maniacal focus, if you will, in a good way, but a maniacal focus on the brands and having distinctive and compelling brand offerings. And I think there is a bit of a risk that you can get lost in sort of a sea of sameness in the brand world these days. So we try really, really hard to make sure that when you walk into one of our 9 brands, you walk into the lobby and you say, I know I'm in a Le Méridien, or I know I'm in a Loft, or a Sheraton, or a Westin. Obviously, St. Regis W is relatively easy. You're in a W. I think that one of the things that we found is that our loyalty program, SPG, has become so important to our guests, particularly our most loyal guests. And oftentimes we're getting phone calls or we're getting requests saying, I'm going to XYZ city and you don't have a Starwood hotel in this location. Now, the reason we don't have one is because we've got a very defined set of parameters for those 9 brands, yet if you look at the growth of independent or boutique, unique hotels that are not part of a system, we have SPG guests who want to stay in those locations and want to stay in those kind of hotels. So this really was in reaction to 2 things. First, it was our SPG guests who were saying, you have 1,200 great hotels around the world. There are more places that we are going where you don't have hotels. So we'd like you to have I'd like you to have a brand that allows you to do that. Secondly, owners were saying, we would like to be able to plug into the Starwood system and the Starwood loyalty program, and we have a great hotel, and it'll get great guest recognition and guest satisfaction, but it's unique and it's different. So the Tribute Collection, or the Tribute Portfolio as we call it, is a unique collection of hotels that sits below the luxury collection from a quality standpoint, and we have a lot of experience obviously with the luxury collection. So this is an offering that is just a notch below that from a pricing and from a quality standpoint. And my way of sort of judging what would be part of the Tribute Portfolio is if we have an SPG Platinum guest who stays in this hotel, we want the physical product, the location, and the service product to be something that really satisfies their desires and their demands. Beyond that, I think we're going to have a fair amount of freedom within the framework. As long as we have satisfied guests, we're willing to be flexible as to design and number of rooms and all those sorts of things. So as someone who spends an awful lot of my time on the growth of the portfolio, this gives me a product, a 10th brand, if you will, that has a little bit more physical flexibility to be able to work with.
Now, good examples are New York. There's a pipeline of hotels in the greater New York area, which is almost predominantly boutique hotels. Singapore's got a lot of boutique hotels. London's got a lot. There's a lot of potential for this brand, isn't there? Yeah, no, there's huge potential, and I think that one of the things that owners that have a longer-term vision will always sort of take in mind is that there are peaks and valleys to the hotel business. It's a cyclical business, and I think that what you need is an affiliation with a system that can assist you when business is really great in pushing rates, when there's a little bit of a tail off in demand, that they can access new sources of demand. So I think an awful lot of the conversations that we're having are with owners who have a longer term vision and they want to associate themselves with a brand and with a system that lets them sort of look out 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And it's that kind of long-term relationship that we're looking for with owners. What kind of goals have you got in mind for the new brand?
Well, I'm always reluctant to sort of come out with huge numbers, because I think one of the things that our industry suffers from, candidly, is I think that there are too many press releases or too many suggestions of extraordinary growth that don't materialize. So I think that I'm going to be more cautious and more conservative. What I can tell you is we launched on April 16th. We have opened our first Tribute Portfolio, Tribute Collection Hotel in South Beach. which, you know, is a super hotel. I think you might get to see it. We've got a pipeline that has grown very, very quickly. And I think the next time you and I see each other, which will, I'm not sure if it'll be in November or whether it'll be in March in Berlin. I think then we'll have a little bit more time under our belt. But I can tell you, it wouldn't surprise me if in 2016, when I'm talking about where we have the most activity, that we're going to be saying Tribute a lot.